and welcome to the Easily Excitable podcast. My guest yet again is Mr. Spencer. Hey man, how's it going?
You're going to get sick of me, aren't you?
Haha. So, yeah. How have things been since the last time we spoke?
Not bad.
Nice.
I've got some great medical news. I don't have to have reconstructive surgery on my leg, so I'm happy. But other than that, pretty good. I had a little bit of a vacation from work and been back at it pretty steadily since, and had some good news about work and outside activities as well. So yay!
Yeah, I've seen lots of things going on about stuff you can't talk about, so we're not going to talk about them because we can't.
I so desperately want to talk about it, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's paining me because it is so cool. And I so desperately want to talk about it, but I can't, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
It'd be almost better if I wasn't told.
Yeah, I get that. Dear. But yeah, I've been working on some music recently. I know you've been picking things up as well with 1551.
1551?
1551, whatever. They're the same numbers.
It's the same digits, I know.
Yeah. So how's that been going along? Is it just we've got a new idea, let's work on it, or is it?
Basically, yeah. We've actually had a couple, and the first one we had to abandon because it sounded a little too much like something else.
Oh, okay.
Totally my fault.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, this sounds cool, and I was working away. I was like, oh no, wait, this sounds like Prophets of Rage. Crap. Or whatever it was. I can't even remember what it was now. So we've basically gone back to the drawing board. But we do have a new idea that we're working on. So I'm looking forward to moving forward on that.
Nice. How do you come up with those ideas? Do you start with lyrics and themes like that, and then build the music around it, or do you start with the music and then the lyrical themes get built up?
It kind of goes either way. Whoever has the idea first, and usually it comes from Jeremy. But this time it kind of came from both of us at the same time. I had the new one that we're working on. I noodled around and I just sent him an idea a while ago, actually. And he had just gone back through listening to some of the stuff that I had sent him, and he sort of picked up on this one, and he's got half the lyrics written already. So that would be great if we could finish that off. But there's a few things musically with it that I want to change just because I thought they were cool at the time, but because this was written a number of months ago now. But there's a section of it that just it doesn't move me like I had hoped it would in the long term. So I'm just I need to rework it a little bit.
Ah, okay. Cool. Yeah, I've been working on a part of the Reddit's Game of Bands thing.
Right.
Where they put teams of 3 people together, a lyricist, a vocalist, and a musician. I obviously signed up to be a musician rather than anything else because I want to say I'm not good with words, but I talk for half an hour a week or so on this podcast, and I write a journal every day. So yeah, but I'm not in the way inclined where my writing can really be translated well to lyrics. Anyway, I do music stuff on this Game of Bands thing, and I picked up a group late, and we've got to try and write a 101 course kind of thing, or base it on something like that. So we're doing, I think it's Guitar 101, how to pick up chicks, or something like that. Okay. So the lyrics are drenched in that, and and so because of it, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn some popular songs. So I'm going to open it up with a bit of Wonderwall by Oasis.
Oh,
and
nice.
then a little bit of Hey There Delilah by, I think it's the Plain White Tees. I can't really remember.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Sounds right.
Yeah, and I've also been learning to play bits of Stairway as well, the intro, just so I can pepper them in around the place and be yes, these are the things to make subtle references, whereas the rest of the music's all just generic-y kind of strummed chords, just to make it sound at least decent and original of some kind. So yeah, that's the project I'm working on at the moment. The next one that will start the weekend after this comes out, so in a few days, is to write and record and produce a song that is less than 1 minute in length, which I'm just that's easy. Thrash metal, yes please, super fast. The problem is I'm probably going to get paired with someone who's I like to rap, and I'm just going to Well, I'm
That'll
not
work.
very
Hey,
great at this.
if they can spit bars real quickly, then that'll work fine.
That works so well with like
Done.
yeah. So like I've got a few ideas already for that, and I'm kind of like, yes, I really want to work on this stuff. And having people to work with, I'm finding, is just like incredibly motivating. Because on my own, I'm not finding the motivation myself to be like, oh, I've got to set some time aside to write and record some music. I mean, I've got like 6 songs that are in progress and have just abandoned, basically, that I need to go back to. It's just, I just don't have anyone to bounce the ideas off of, so they're like just rattling around my brain and I never pick them up.
Ah, gotcha. See, yeah, that's one thing that I like about doing writing with Jeremy. Is he's always full of ideas. Very seldomly do they suck, and he's very open to any ideas that I have, and we tend to bounce ideas back and forth off of each other at an alarming pace. And when we get rolling, we're really, really quickly and really efficient, and it's just a matter of lining lining our 2 schedules up to get any work done, and lately that's been a challenge on both sides.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like that's kind of like I would like to find someone that I could work like that with, because I'm sure that would increase my productivity. But at the same time, like taking part in this songwriting competition and working with 2 different people every few weeks is something that's really cool. It's just, I get to work with these people, see what they can output, and it gives us a strict time limit as well, which is I find very motivating.
Yeah, and I can see how that would be the case. It's like, okay, no, we have this amount of time. Let's get moving on it. All right, and everybody's kind of very focused. It's very goal oriented, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it's very goal orientated. We know on Sunday this song's due, so we have to have it done by then. But ideally, we'd want the first draft of the lyrics to be done in the first week, and the first draft of the music to even be scheduled and structured by the end of the first week. Also, then tweaks and everything can be done, and the vocals can be put over the top, and we can adjust everything afterwards in the following week. So it's a case of
it's a 4-week cycle, right?
It's 2 weeks.
It's a 2-week cycle. Oh,
2 weeks.
okay. Why did I think it was 4?
I don't know, but I don't think I said that it was 2 weeks. So yeah, you get put in a group on a Monday. You aim to have it done by the end of the first week, so that the second week it's all tweaking and actually making it sound good. So it's just demo first phase, and then go from there onwards. I try my best to record it like the best quality I can on the first pass through, so that I don't need to revisit and like go back and re-record anything. But things have to change at times, and having a 2-week time limit is so good.
What are you using? Do you use Amp Simulator plugins? I think you and I had chatted about this before, but I can't remember what we ended up talking about.
Yeah, I use Podfarm and Line 6 UX1 to get my tones.
Gotcha.
And I mean it works great, but I'd rather I don't know. It works fine. Sometimes it's a bit awkward. I'd really like to be able to have an amp set up in a quiet environment and like properly have it done, but
Yeah, but you know what? Dealing with live amps, I mean, that's just as tangly, because there's always little idiosyncrasies with them that can throw everything off. I mean, if one of your tubes starts going, that's it. I mean, the whole sound gone. If someone moves your mic a half an inch, that's it. Let's spend another half hour getting that sound back.
Yeah. So I like using the Podfarm as well, because it allows me to like change tones drastically in a second. You can be like, oh yes, I'm writing on like a really distorted sound, and then like immediately to clean, I don't need to then go like find a better spot on the amp for a clean on the speaker for a clean sound or anything like that. So like it's kind of handy having it and just being like click, 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 click. And then if I'm like, I think I could do with a phaser. It's like I don't have a phaser, like a physical phaser to use, but I have one in the software where I can just yes, phaser, extra effects. And it's just one of those things. I'm just like, this is so much more powerful than I even give it credit for. But I really want to get more pedals though. That's the thing. I don't need them at all, because I can just play through headphones. But
The only thing I find, I have yet to find a wah pedal emulator that is convenient to use. I mean, they all
Uh-huh.
sound okay, but
Yeah.
it's the convenience of using them. Because I
Mhm.
mean, you either have to sit there and it's hard to do when you're playing it live, because when you're playing it, live to tape, so to speak, I mean, you're going with your foot. It's
Yeah.
very hard to do that unless you have some sort of you know interface, or not interface, sorry, like a controller, like a sustain pedal or something like that,
Yeah.
to or a volume pedal, or something external that you can deal with that. And I'm sure someone's going to say, oh well, you can use such and such a thing and then be done with it, but
Yeah, that's not a
why
common
should you
bit
need
of
it?
kit that's everywhere.
No, it's not. And so what I find myself doing is, sometimes if I want that kind of a tone, I have to go in and I'll physically automate, the actual presets on my plugins. And
Yeah.
that's an excruciating little process,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know. Because if you slip your wheel mouse, your mouse wheel just a little bit, all of a sudden everything goes horribly pear shaped, and then you had to go back and do it again. And if you miss it, I mean, just so, well, that's another pass you got to do.
Yep. Yeah, no, I completely understand. Like, it's so fiddly, but at the same time, it's really rewarding once you get it, and you're just like, I've got it, it's yay! And,
Well, I
yeah.
mean, it would be nice if humans had third arms.
Yes.
When
Exactly.
doing that kind of, you could be playing with your other two, and then your third arm, you just, I'll just manipulate the keyboard.
Where would a third arm go, though?
That, sir, is a loaded question. Uh, ah,
But yeah.
I'd say
So this
coming
came
right
up.
up.
Yeah. Go. Yeah.
I'd say for my money, it would be either coming up over the back of my right shoulder, because I'm
Uh-huh.
right-handed, and it would be nice to have something, or coming around, I'd say just below my right hand. Just because again, right-handed, I could always use another right hand.
Hmm.
That sounded dirty. But you could be playing there with your other two, with your two, right hand, left hand, and then your other right hand, your right hand prime, shall we say, is controlling the mouse and doing stuff. I mean, that would be amazing for home recording setups and stuff like that. But
Totally. Yeah.
why? Where would you like it to appear?
I don't know. I was going to say in roughly the same places as well. And this was something that came up on a podcast I was listening to recently, where they were talking to. It was an old conference where they were talking to like a bunch of architects. Like, where would you have a third arm on a human's body? They're just like, we don't know. We don't know where we'd put it. I'd probably put it like on the right shoulder and just be like, yeah, that's where it goes, around that kind of area. But they were like, why can't we just have two extra arms?
Yeah, the lack of symmetry is a bit of an onion in the ointment, isn't it? I mean, you could just do like, what's the Mortal Kombat character? Goro? The big,
I cannot remember.
yeah, the big
I do not know.
multi-arm dude. I can't remember. Yeah. Goro, I'm pretty sure it's Goro.
Okay,
I'm
I just don't
probably
know.
wrong though.
Yeah. So yeah, like I was like, I wrote it down because it was like something that I was like, oh, that's it. That's an interesting thing. Like that was one of the things as well that this feeds into what we're going to talk about next. Hopefully, is that you get all these creative people together and you give them this problem, and there's not really a strict solution for it. And that's kind of the beauty of creativity. You can be like, you can put it wherever you want, but you've got to figure out how is it going to be used and everything like that. And so that then becomes, oh, these people that they were talking to are people who have been in a creative field, so architecture, for example, in like the example I'm talking about, and they've been in that field for 30 to 40 years, and therefore their creativity isn't necessarily an inherent characteristic that they have, like children and their creativity. It's more through their proficiency of the designs that they've been doing and the fact that they've been honing their skills that the question was asked to them, and therefore leads to more interesting results than if you were to ask a child, for example, who has the inherent creativity that could be quite high or could be quite low. but different
That's
people have
correct.
different amounts. And then you get creativity that's bred through proficiency of skills. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an artistic endeavor as well. Like, there's some people that I've met, specifically one chemistry professor who I can't remember his name right now.
For
And
shame, for
and
shame.
the work that he did, he was at Oxford, he was a professor. And the work that he did in the development of flow chemistry is just some of the most fascinating stuff. But it's come through knowledge and proficiency in applying his knowledge to the problems that they face. And it's been something that has really made me think, oh, you can be creative in this field. In a field that I don't feel can be particularly creative, it certainly is with chemistry. Because there's all the molecules in the world, and how do they get made, and how do you disconnect them to put them together again? And that's something that's been on my mind recently as well. There's all these different things to do. And so when you've got this creativity and not just applying it in one area, I'd actually like to be more proficient in my creativity in chemistry, because that's kind of my job and I need to be better at it, but at the same time, I use my creativity in different areas, which I guess comes up, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, creativity is also a byproduct of necessity. I mean, creative problem solving. You see a need, you need to figure out how to fix it, or to fulfill that need, I should say, not necessarily fix it. Well, then you sometimes had to be very imaginative in how you approach those, because they're not usually the standard situations. And like you said, chemistry is not exactly a standard situation. You're dealing with, again, the molecular structure of things. So, I mean, even if is there such a thing as theoretical chemistry?
Yes. Yeah.
There is?
Yeah, it kind of edges onto I don't know. There's two ways you can look at it. There's the theoretical side on the quantum chemistry side, or the physical chemistry side, which edges onto the side of physics, really. And then there's the theoretical side where you can say, oh, I want to try and do these reactions. The problem is when you need to test them, they might actually not be feasible because the equilibrium of the reaction might not be in a favourable way. It might be too energetically intensive to actually occur ever.
Right.
And so you can do all these theoretical things, but when you apply the theory, it might not work. And it's more likely at this stage now that we can do practical chemistry that would replicate the theory rather than it all be purely theoretical.
Right.
But, that's one of the things with chemistry, is that a lot of the things in chemistry that don't need to be theoretical anymore, because of the development of technology and the availability of materials. It's
right, and that has come through the creativity that has been spurned on by these issues that have arisen, right?
Yes, yeah, totally.
Two volatile, of an exothermic reaction, right?
Yeah, yeah. So there's.
See, I'm not just an ugly face. I can't call myself pretty, but I'm not just an ugly face. I learn.
Yeah. So there's certainly things that have had to be creative in the past to influence the way things are now, and yeah, I didn't think of it in that way in the past at all. I thought, oh, chemistry is very regimented. A and B go to C, and that's what happens. And it's way more complicated than that. And there's a lot of things that need to be considered. And I think it took me probably until my third year of university, going through it, to be like, oh no, these people that are professors, they aren't just people who know all the stuff and just try new things. They're people with great creativity for problem solving in chemistry that, I guess, because of their knowledge and their training. So to even get to be a professional, you need to have done the 4 years for your degree, and then your 4 years of 4 years of doctorate study, and then you've got to do a bunch of postdoctoral study. So they'll have spent many years doing this kind of thing, and I'm just like, oh, that's where it comes from. You can't just
Yeah.
immediately be creative and be like, oh, this is what I want to do, which is another thing. Creativity through proficiency. It's
Exactly.
Like, yes, that's the way things have to be. And yeah, I was thinking the other day. I was like, oh yeah, like I was trying to understand from my guitar teacher how I could be more creative with the guitar. Like when I had my guitar teacher, and he was always like, okay, you've just got to just learn the scales, learn the positions, and just do all this. I'm like, but that's not really helping me be creative. And I was getting not necessarily frustrated, but I was just like, I'm not being where I want to be in like terms of playing creative leads or writing riffs or anything like that.
Right.
But I actually ran into him like last weekend, and so I was like, oh, here's music. Just like go check out my album, yay! And that was cool. But yeah, like he was always like, no, you've got to practice and be good at actually playing before you can apply your knowledge to do crazy fun things. Oh.
Yeah, I'll agree with him on that. You need sort of a base knowledge from which to venture out forth from.
Yes.
If that makes sense. You need some sort of foundation from which to leap.
Yes.
And that applies to audio engineering as well.
Yeah.
Once you have a few mixes under your belt or a few albums under your belt, whether you recorded it or mixed it, or you simply got coffee and observed everyone. I've done my share of those as well. It is very important to soak up as much knowledge as you possibly can at every opportunity, because at some point down the road, you might be working on an album and someone's going to ask you for can we get this kind of a sound going on our bass guitar.
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much had to figure out how to get that.
Yeah.
And that comes from observation and experimentation. And the experimentation part is the most fun, because you get to try a few things and you get to, what if I did this,
Yeah.
Oh, how's that sound? Oh, that sounds like ass. Okay, we'll try something else. And then you go back and you tweak it and you learn, and and it all starts from the instrument to whatever, say if it was your human voice. It starts from the instrument, which is the voice, and then you figure out best mic for the job, best mic position for the job, best on this person, this preamp sounds great, this bit of EQ sounds great. Oh, there's a little bit of this in his voice. Well, let's take that out, using this EQ or this patch. There you go. Now we have a great sound. Now enter singer number 2, sounds totally different. And the signal chain that you just perfected with this first person won't work at all for this second person. So that becomes a creative process, is trying to maximize that person's voice.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's not always about immediately starting off with wacky off the wall ideas.
Exactly. You have to have a nice healthy knowledge base of the core. I don't want to use the word beliefs, but the core knowledge, the core facts, before you can then afford to make these experimental leaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, lots of stuff about creativity, because that's fun. I find also things being different. Like I've put my guitar in alternate tunings. I've been playing with the DAD GAD tuning on my little acoustic guitar recently.
Oh yeah.
And that's just led me to do some crazy things and just be like, oh, this sounds entirely different. What kind of thing can I do here? I get some weird sounds. I'm just like, oh, that's really cool. I never thought of playing that sequence of notes, because here it's really easy. Whereas, like, on a regularly tuned guitar, you're just like, oh, these notes are actually awkward and it's difficult and disjointed to play.
And clumsy, right?
Yeah. So, I like trying something entirely different. It can also be very viable and just like help you there. I've like taken something from my guitar tuned in that alternate tuning and just tried to transfer it onto my other guitar and just be like, okay, I'm going to try and play it on here. And it's worked eventually. Once you're just like, oh, that's the note that I'm missing because you mistranspose it or something.
Yeah. Well, there's also something very cool about having, and I've done this a number of times with a lot of the recordings that I've engineered or co-produced over the years. have one guitar in Dadgad and the other
Mhm.
guitar in Standard. Now, it's a level of playing that I don't possess personally,
Mhm.
but the handful of people that I know around here who can do it really really well, and
Mhm.
it creates almost a symphonic or an orchestral kind of a feel, and it's literally two guitars, but they're covering more ground than say just two standard guitars playing the same thing
Yeah.
back and forth kind of a thing. But
Ah.
I don't personally have the skills to pull that kind of crap off. I wish I did because I'm envious of it. I'm envious of the sound it creates.
Mhm. Ah, crazy. Yeah, and let's apply that to something entirely different. So I know a bunch of my friends are just about to start playing a new game of D&D, and many of them have never played before. And so D&D being a role-playing game where you just use your creativity to imagine the situations that you're in
Yeah,
and try and have some fun. And again, the creativity there in like how to play with your character and fit it into the world initially is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult to fit a character into the world and just be like, I don't really know what I'm doing until you get a grasp on how the mechanics of the game work. So you've got to roll a d20 and when you want to do something and add your bonuses to it. And once you've
yeah,
got like like if a situation arises where someone's being confrontational, you've got to decide, oh, I've got to be either persuasive or intimidating to make them back down. And the more you play, the more I've been using the word proficient a lot, but you'll be more adept to making those choices on the fly and be like, okay,
right.
I need to be intimidating in this moment. So you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to roll for that. And when you do that, that allows you to once you get to that stage, you're going to be more ready to be like, oh, this is a hostile situation. I'm going to do that, so I can do that. Creativity achieved
And
is
I guessing that when you once you reach that comfort level is very liberating, correct?
yeah, because then you can be like, okay, now I'm going to flesh out my character more. I've got ideas about what I want the character's ideals to be, and you can just add them on the fly. You can just be like, yeah, I'm going to stand up to this person and then put a reason in because they're a jerk and I don't like the town that they came from or something like that. And like you can just add character and flavor to the stuff that you're doing. And
Yeah. And
but it's not something that you can initially do when you start out.
no, and I think that was the issue I had with it when I mean, as a teenager, as teenagers, myself and my buddies, we actually attempted to play a few games of D&D,
Mm-hmm.
and it was that aspect of it that I couldn't sort of get beyond, and
Yes.
that's how come I didn't really get into the game, I guess, because
Uh-huh.
I couldn't envision that originally. I was like, oh, what do you mean? Well, god damn it. You know, so
Yeah.
it kind of lost its luster very quickly for me, and I'm pretty sure if I had stuck with it as opposed to bailing after like two or three games, that I probably would have developed an affinity for it. Uh, but I never got there, and I haven't really played it since I was a teenager. So that
Yeah,
was
that's fair
and that was a
enough.
very long time ago.
You can certainly see it in heroes and halfwits as well as
Yeah.
twits and crits. Like you can tell the people who are comfortable with it and who's learning it newly. Yeah, newly. That's a word. Of
Yeah.
course it is.
No, it
And
is. It actually is a word.
it actually is a word. I caught myself out by saying a real word. um, um, yeah, so like you can tell who's played it before and who hasn't by the way that they role play, and the less questions they ask, the more smoother it is for the group, and the
Right.
more time goes on, the more comfortable everyone will be, and the creativity can come from there. The interesting solutions. So yeah, it's certainly interesting to watch people play, and for my friends that are going to start playing, it might take a while for you to actually feel like you're going to get into it, but the time you're investing at the beginning is necessary to build up the knowledge of the game that you need to really have a nice, smooth session.
Yeah, and I mean that was part of my issue. I mean that was part of my own personal issues. I didn't really have the patience back then as a teenager. I certainly didn't have the patience back then. I know I didn't, because if it didn't get a hold of me at a very early stage, sorry, I'm not having fun at this, bail. Which over the years, I mean, I've grown infinitely more patient. So and my job has certainly taught me that I need to be patient. Yeah. So especially when dealing with musicians in an imperfect, I mean, it's an imperfect art form. Once perfection is like it's like the golden ticket. I mean, it's so rare that it happens, but when it does, wow, it's nice. But everything else is, it's almost perfect. It's finished, but it's not perfect, kind of a thing.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know if there's like one or two albums that I've ever heard of the many, many albums that I would consider perfect. And I just don't think there's that many albums that are perfect. I just don't.
No, I don't.
I don't believe it's common at all. And it's,
oh my God, no.
Good to recognize that. But yeah, there's like I said, there's only a few albums I would ever consider that are perfect, and only one actually springs to mind right now, and that's Symphony X's 5: The New Mythology Suite, and that's just an album that so many people will never hear. I consider it my favourite album of all time, just because it's amazing. My favourite song by that band isn't even off that album, but that album's just incredible front to back.
I say, within the context of the album itself, for you, that's perfection. Yeah. And that's another thing. The term perfection, when talking about creative arts and all that stuff, it is completely subjective.
Oh, so
completely.
Much. Yeah.
5 people will listen to that album, and 1 will say, that's utter garbage. 2 will say, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. And the other 2 might agree with you. Oh, that's perfection. Or, or one of those 2 might say, oh, it's almost perfect, except for this song here, complete throwaway song. It could have stayed off the album. That kind of thing. It's, I mean, yeah. You're never going to please everyone, man.
No, not at all. But yeah. Anyway, this has been a really good, chat and podcast, and I've been really
I've had fun.
This. Yeah. So Spencer, where can we find you across the internet?
Across the internet, I am on the Twitter at SpencerInNL. I'm also on the Rooster Teeth site, Grenou, and I think that's really. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but that's kind of like friends and family type thing.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Awesome.
There you go. That's Excellent. Where you can find me.
Cool. You can find me across the internet at Ethfar or as Destroy Topham around the place as well. I'm still using both, and I really should just make the switch and move over to one. But
no, not necessarily.
I'm going to try and keep the Ethfar one. I kind of want the Ethfar one to brand this podcast and the music project, and then keep my own personal one, because I've got to keep them separate. I've got to keep them separate, but at the same time, I'm just like, I want all my followers to follow the music one.
Well, that's natural too.
Yeah, but you can't do that. You have to take in time. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you, Spencer, for being my guest this week.
Not a problem.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. Have an exciting week. You're all my favourites. Goodbye.
Cheers.